Yeah, so things went from bad to worse pretty quickly for the Minnesota Vikings as they are not only down multiple key starters, but they have this guy filling in for the time being. But by the time this guy returns, they have an absolute gauntlet the next 4 games. It's safe to say that heading into week 3 of the NFL season, the Vikings might already be cooked. So I've got to break that situation down, look at other key injuries from around the league, give my week 3 power rankings update, and more right after. Alright, first up, the NFL just announced their players of the week for each conference, and unsurprisingly, Jared Goff took home the NFC Offensive Player of the Week after his 5-touchdown game against the Bears. The reason I even bring this up is because J.J. McCarthy won the award last week, also against the Bears. Chicago's taking on the Cowboys this week, so I would like to take a moment to congratulate Dak Prescott in advance. I'll also congratulate Cam Ward on becoming the only first overall pick not to throw an interception in either of his first 2 games. That's a pretty wild stat, and although the Titans are 0-2, I think Cam Ward has shown plenty of flashes out there already, like that touchdown throw he had last week where he chucked it all the way across the field while on the move. I wish all the quarterback news was positive today, but unfortunately, there have been a lot of QB injuries across the league so far this season. Justin Fields suffered a concussion against the Bills this past Sunday, and the team already ruled him out for this week's contest against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield should be good to go for that game, by the way. Ian Rappaport said he may take some time off during practice after getting beat up pretty good against the Texans on Monday Night Football, but he's expected to play, which means it'll be Baker Mayfield against Tyrod Taylor, someone you will not see in that game or for the rest of the season entirely. Sadly, his defensive end, Calijah Kancey. Calijah tore his pec on Monday night and will have to undergo season-ending surgery. Brutal news there for the Buccaneers and their fans who were hoping to see a third-year breakout from the former first-round pick. It seemed like one was on the horizon after he nearly doubled his sack total from year 1 to year 2, so that is a tough loss for them, though if it's any consolation, their signing of Hassan Reddick seems to have paid off big time as he's currently tied for 5th in pressures per PFF. But keep your eyes on Jayden Daniels' status as well because he suffered a knee sprain following their loss to the Packers last Thursday, and there's some belief that the Commanders could err on the side of caution and hold him out on Sunday. Dan Quinn told the media that he won't practice until Friday at the earliest, so that's kind of pushing it, but we'll see what decision they make ahead of game day. Worth noting for the Commanders, they're bringing back edge rusher Preston Smith, a guy who started his career in Washington back in 2015. Smith is 32 now, and while his production dipped a bit last year, he's still a solid vet addition for a team that just had 4 total sacks across the first 2 games of this season. Shoot, J.J. McCarthy took 6 sacks alone last week, which is why he's now sidelined for 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Because of that, Vikings hosted both Desmond Ridder and Dorian Thompson-Robinson on a tryout yesterday, with the team opting to go with Ridder, signing him to the active roster. He'll presumably operate as the QB3 behind Carson Wentz and Max Brosmer until McCarthy gets back. Some believe that JJ won't return until after the Vikings' Week 6 bye. Well, after the bye, their first 4 games are the Eagles, Chargers, Lions, and Ravens, so good luck and God bless America. That's not even to mention all the other injuries they're dealing with on both sides of the ball at the moment, with a notable one being to running back Aaron Jones. They placed him on IR yesterday with a hamstring injury, so he's going to be out for a minimum of 4 weeks. I'm kind of expecting it to be even longer given the fact that he's 30 years old and this is his 4th hamstring injury of his career. Thankfully, they traded for Jordan Mason in the offseason, and he'll be their RB1 for the time being. But funny enough, for the 3rd straight year, the Vikings are reuniting with running back Cam Akers. He overlapped with Kevin O'Connell on the Rams. Then the Vikings traded for him in 2023. He signed with Houston last season, but midway through the year, Minnesota traded for him again. And now he's back yet again on the practice squad for now, though he'll get elevated to the 53 here soon enough. Another player in that division dealing with a significant injury is Bears cornerback Jaylon Johnson. Jordan Schultz reported that he's likely to miss the rest of the season with a groin injury that requires surgery. Johnson missed all of training camp with a groin issue and made his return last week after missing week 1. Everyone assumed he aggravated that same issue, but Ben Johnson told the media that it's a new injury unrelated to the one he had before, so you can believe him on that or not, but it's the same area, and either way, it's a gut punch for the Bears, who will most likely be without their top cornerback for the entire season. The vibes around Chicago aren't the greatest right now, okay? Everyone's down on Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, who is currently 20th in QBR, if you care about that stat. And it doesn't help that their defense is giving up 40 points a game. Yes, small sample size, and it's inflated after last week's game. They've got the Cowboys this week, though, and they just hung 40 on the Giants. So Bears fans might be in for another long day on Sunday. Soft tissue injuries can be very frustrating and linger at times, and another star corner is currently dealing with one of his own. Falcons cornerback A.J. Terrell pulled his hamstring in the win over the Vikings, with head coach Raheem Mostert labeling him as week to week. It's a good sign they haven't placed him on IR, but they'll likely be pretty cautious with them, especially this early on in the season, as obviously there's a lot of football left to be played. And then the Bills will be without a couple key members along their defense when they host the Dolphins tomorrow night. Defensive tackle Ed Oliver missed last week with an ankle injury, and he's been ruled out for this one as well. Linebacker Matt Milano injured his pec during their win over the Jets, and he too will miss tomorrow night's matchup. That'll help the Dolphins offensively a little bit, but I still don't think they're going to keep pace with Buffalo's high-powered offense that scored 71 points in just 2 games. Josh Allen is 12-2 against the Dolphins in his career, and Miami is 3-13 versus teams with a winning record under Mike McDaniel. Tua did look solid last week until he threw a costly pick late in the fourth quarter, but even if they're firing on all cylinders offensively, that defense can't stop anyone right now. They've given up back-to-back 30-point games against the Colts and Patriots, and now they've got one of the most explosive teams in the entire league coming to town. I think several players have a chance at some big performances in this one, which is why I put together a little lineup using Underdog, the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. They have a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up using my code CBTH. And you can tail these picks that you see up here on screen, or choose some of your own to win up to 1,000x on your money. But for me, I went with Devon Achane and James Cook, both to score at least one rushing or receiving touchdown. They've both scored at least one so far in both games, so I feel pretty good about that. Then, this might be risky, but I took the lower on Josh Allen's 249.5 passing yards because I think this game may get out of hand and Buffalo will lean on their ground game just like they did last week. And from here, I want to get into my updated power rankings for week 3. I'm going to keep KC in the top 10 for now, but I do have them sliding a bit after having them at 5 last week. Obviously, they lost to Philly, but they did have opportunities to win that game against the Super Bowl champs. The defense tightened up from week 1, and they still didn't have Rice or Worthy, who might be back this week against the Giants on Sunday Night Football, by the way. The lack of a run game is an issue, though, so I'm hoping they make a move if at all humanly possible. Please, Veach. But ultimately, I'll bet on Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo, and once they have their gambit of receivers out there, I think they'll start rattling off some wins and eventually climb back up this list. At number 9, I'm going with the Commanders, who are coming off a loss to Green Bay, but shoot, the Packers are one of the best teams in the league, and it was in Lambeau. I don't think Jaden Daniels' knee is going to be any concern long-term at least, although just like the Chiefs, I am a bit worried about their running back room after losing Austin Eckler to a torn Achilles. The Rams are coming in at number 8, after starting out the year 2-0 with Stafford's back looking just fine. Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams went nuts last week against the Titans, and defensively that front four is among the best in the business, which is why they're tied for the second most sacks. The NFC West is tough once again this year, though. In fact, it's the only division that has more than one 2-0 team, and they have 3 at the moment. But my money's on the Rams to win the division, especially with Purdy and Kittle out for a while there in San Francisco. Then at 7, I've got the Bucs, who are the kings of the fourth quarter this year. Both of their wins have come in games in which they were trailing with 1 minute left in the fourth. They're only going to improve too once they get Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin back, which they're hoping comes within the next few weeks for both of those guys. It's looking like the Falcons are going to be their only real competition in the NFC South, but the Bucs already got a head-to-head win over them, and it was in Atlanta, so their second matchup will be played in Tampa. I'm going to put the Lions at 6, though I wouldn't blame you if you had them even higher on your list after they gave the Bears a 50 burger. I had them at 8 last week, though, and thought moving them up 2 spots was pretty fair. They looked flat in week 1 against the Packers, but then destroyed the Bears at home. A much lesser opponent, to be fair, but still, they looked like the old Lions we're used to seeing. the ones that averaged over 30 points a game last year. I think we're going to find out a lot about this team this week when they play the Ravens in Baltimore on Monday Night Football, though. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be an absolute banger. But we're moving into the top 5 now with the Chargers kicking us off. They moved up a couple spots after securing their second straight divisional win as they sit alone on top of the AFC West for now. But seriously, Justin Herbert has been incredible to start the year. The guy is third in yards behind Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones, by the way, just like everybody predicted before the season started. But then Herbert is also second in passer rating and has been doing a great job of distributing to their trio of Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, and Quentin Johnston. Their defense has given up the third fewest amount of points through 2 weeks, though the loss of Kahlil Mack will hurt them a bit. He just got placed on IR today. Unfortunate elbow injury there. It's not going to be season ending from what I understand, and he should be back hopefully in about a month or so, at least for Chargers fans. So they're at 5. Then I'm putting the Ravens at 4, just ahead of them. Blowing that game to the Bills does sting a bit, but they got back on track by blowing out the Browns 41-17 last week. Lamar Jackson has been on a tear. 6 touchdowns, no picks, and he has the best passer rating of anyone by a mile. Now, can he actually come through in the postseason? That remains to be seen. In the regular season, though, they've been one of the best teams in the league when Lamar is healthy, and that isn't changing anytime soon. What is changing, though, is that I'm going to drop the Bills from 2 to 3. It's not because of anything they did or didn't do, because, they took care of business this week against the New York Jets, blowing them out 30-10. Their offense has been rolling, averaging over 35 points a game through 2 weeks. That's not a huge surprise after they led the league in scoring last year. Their defense did look very good against the Jets, but they gave up 40 to Baltimore in week 1 and low-key needed a miracle in order to pull out that win at home. It probably sounds like I'm being a little disrespectful here. Not trying to. They are my highest ranked AFC team for a reason, but with the way the Packers have looked in their first 2 games and who they've beat, it's hard not to put them second on my list. So that's what I'm doing. Once again, they dominated one of the best teams in the NFC last week. They rank first in DVOA on both offense and defense, which is wild considering they've played the Lions and Commanders. Micah Parsons hasn't even been playing full snaps yet either, and he is still 8th in the league in pressures with 2 sacks. They're one of just 6 teams that haven't committed a turnover yet this season, so they're taking care of the ball, and they're scoring 27 points per game, which is plenty when you have a defense that's been playing the way they have. You could make the case that they've looked better than the Eagles have, but you got to keep the reigning Super Bowl champs at 1 until they at least lose a game. It wasn't the sexiest win, but they did beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, which is no easy feat. They're still stacked on both sides of the ball, and as long as both teams can stay healthy and that offense can get humming a bit here, I expect to see the Eagles and Packers in the NFC Championship game, at least for right now. But hey, let me know where you agree and disagree with me here on my power rankings. Maybe even list yours in the comments below. I'd love to take a look at them and see where you have teams ranked. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.